What is the best Sixth Doctor story? Hello and welcome to another video. Now I've already done a video called what is the worst Sixth Doctor story. In fact, I've done a couple and that series is still ongoing. But I thought I'd start up another strand to that, saying which is the best of the individual Doctor's stories. And since I started the worst series with Colin, seems only fair to start the best series with Colin. So what is the best Sixth Doctor story? Well, despite a short tenure, I think there are quite a few contenders for the crown. Mostly from season 22, which I think is woefully underrated and one of my absolute favourite seasons. One of the contenders would be the most recent Sixth Doctor story that I watched on New Year's Day, which I actually did a specific video for, which was Revelation of the Daleks, which is a great story. I thoroughly enjoyed Revelation. It's dark, it's grim, it's blackly comic, it's very well characterized, very well written. It's kind of, I think I said this before, you can really see Robert Holmes' influence on Eric Soward. If you just look at the characterization and the quality of the dialogue in the season 22 stories that Eric Soward did, and then compare and contrast to the clunky macho crap that you got in Resurrection, the quality of the characterization and dialogue is just beamed up to 11. And that's definitely the case with Revelation. So that's definitely a contender, but there are others. Vengeance on Varos is often cited as what the best Sixth Doctor story. I think Colin Baker himself says it's his favourite, and there's certainly a lot to appreciate in that story. On the downside, perhaps the production values could be a bit better, but it doesn't really seem to matter. It's got a very dark atmosphere. It's got some very good acting, particularly from Martin Jarvis and Nabil Shaban as Syl, and it's very ahead of its time in terms of the reality TV parody, which, you know, at least 20 years ahead of its time there. But again, there are others. I mean, The Two Doctors is a great story. We get Patrick Troughton back one last time for starters, you know. Mark of the Rani, I think, is very underrated. I'm not sure how long ago. It's only a couple of years at most since I saw Mark again. I saw I saw it on the Blu-ray, and it's such a gorgeous story. I mean, the location filming is absolutely stunning, but the studio work is, you know, first class, as you would expect from the BBC when they do a historical story. You know, they can't do spaceships or futuristic stuff to save their lives, but you give them a history setting, and it'll look superb, as Andrew Cartmel noted later on, and that's very much the case with Mark of the Rani. And it's a lot of fun. I find Mark of the Rani a very entertaining story. For me, though, and long-term viewers of this channel might not be surprised, but for me, my favourite Sixth Doctor story is Attack of the Cybermen. I'm sure I've said this many times, but this was, even though I saw kind of bits of season 22 when I was a kid, the first one I actually saw as a fan, and it's only like, I don't know, three and a half years, but at that particular time, 3.5 years was like a bloody lifetime. The first one I saw as a fan was Attack. It was one of a bunch of stories that a new fan friend of mine taped for me, of like one of each pre-Sylvester Doctor. And honestly, the Colin one was probably the one I was looking forward to the least, because I was already, you know, steeped in the lore that he was rubbish and his era was rubbish. And I sat and watched Attack of the Cybermen and was absolutely blown away by it and thought it was absolutely superb. I thought Colin was absolutely superb and hilarious. And I thought Attack was basically every bit as good as Earthshock, which I kind of just watched before it. And you know what? 37 years later, I still feel exactly the same way. I think Attack is woefully underrated these days. I think it always has been. Actually, I'm sure I've said it before, but it baffles me the distance in fan reception between this and Resurrection, given that they're the same writer and the same director and the same one of the same supporting characters, and yet to my mind, Attack is infinitely better written on every level, and yet the fans hate Attack and swoon over Resurrection. Okay, I don't get you people. I really don't. You're a very strange bunch. But yeah, I love Attack. I love the supporting cast and characters. You've got some fantastic actors in there: Maurice Colburn, Brian Glover, Michael Atwell, all taking it seriously and selling it to the absolute nth degree. The Cybermen are at the nastiest. I love Malcolm Clark's music. And again, as with so much of season 22, apart from like Time Lash and bits of Vivaros, which could do with a bit more money, it looks fantastic. It still stands up. It looks chunky and solid and epic. I love Attack of the Cybermen, and for my money, it is the best Sixth Doctor story.